Hey, lovely people. It's Tal here over at the Gamers Rest, and today we are going to be doing something a little bit different. We're going to be looking at the new open beta release for Daggerheart, the brand new content coming out from Darrington Press, part of Critical Role, and this is their, I guess, alternative. It's probably the best way to put it, of D&D. So brand new rule set, new dice, new characters, the whole lot. And what we're going to do today is we're going to be looking at the character creation part of the process. Over the next couple of weeks, I'm going to be running some games, so you're going to see what the rules look like, how it actually plays out, and we'll probably do some session zeros where we'll just go through some of the background stuff as well. But for today, what I'm going to be doing is just create a character in there so you can see what that process looks like and what kind of things are on offer if you wanted to get involved in this yourself. So all the content is, if you go over to Darrington Press, you will find there are links there to sign up for the open beta. And if you do, I would urge you to leave feedback as well. It's the only way things get changed. And from there, you will find links to this site here, which is the demiplane.com. And this essentially looks to be a new hub, if you like, for different TTRPGs. So it's got things like Alien, I think it's Masquerade, Vampire the Masquerade's being touted on there for a brand new kind of set of character creations, which they've not seen before, and a few others as well. But today we're just going to be concentrating on the Daggerheart side of things. So, without further ado, let's get stuck in and make ourselves a character. Now, I've had a brief look at this, but I've not gone into huge amounts of detail because I was just looking at the comparisons between the two. And what I want to do for you is I'm going to just do that so we can start from fresh. We're going to create a character from scratch. We'll go through the process together, and then you can just see what it's like to actually create something new for this brand new IP. So let's create a character, and we are going for Daggerheart. So you can already see that the demiplane, it's got some real kind of D&D Beyond vibes, and it's a very nice layout, nice and bright. I really like it. You can see clearly we're on the character build page, and there are pre-gen characters available. So straight away, if you're just looking for some NPCs, or if it's, if creating characters isn't your thing, don't worry about it. The pre-gen's all on there as well. So on the right-hand side, we've got some details about Welcome to Daggerheart. I don't know why I said Dragonheart. It's a lot of the standard stuff you'd expect to see. It does obviously state very clearly that everything is in development at the moment. So, things will change, all down to the kind of details that you feed back. And it just talks you through on here how to create your character. Now, we're going to go through the process ourselves, but all the details are on there if you have a look through. You can see along the top, we have got the very familiar, skills, stats, however you want to call it, but you can see we've got 6 stacks on there: agility, strength, finesse, instinct, presence, and knowledge. And we're going to be looking at those as we go through and seeing how they relate to building your character. But to begin with, we're going to start by just giving our character a name. And let's give this character a name of Jackson. It does talk about pronouns here, which is interesting. I've not seen that before, so obviously we can add that in. And you can see there that we've got the ability to kind of set the level we want to start at. We're just going to do a level 1 character today. We might look at some in depth to some of the higher levels later on. But at the moment, everything goes up to level 10. That's kind of the cutoff point that we're seeing for new characters. So we could have a look at the portraits. Not too worried about portraits at the moment, but you can see you've got some standard kind of pics on there which you can choose. And down on the left-hand side, you've got the kind of step-by-step process. So around about 3 steps that are going to be in place to create your character. And you can, of course, look at your character sheet, which we'll do as we go through. But we are now just going to begin, and we're going to get started. So, first thing we are going to have a look at is our ancestry. So for ancestry, read, I guess, background in terms of race. Yep. Now, there are some new things on here that we're seeing. And on the right-hand side, if you click into that, you get a nice little card pick. That seems to be the theme of this, is that everything seems to fit on a nice little card. I know some people are a little bit concerned that maybe that's leading towards, releasing card packs. I don't know. We'll see how that kind of thing goes. In terms of what's available, there is some new things in there. So, for example, and we'll go through the new ones, you've got clanks, which are sentient mechanical beings built from such materials as metal, wood, stone, and clay to resemble humanoids, animals, or even inanimate objects. And what you'll see is when you choose your ancestry, you'll see that there is we're not going to call it a racial bonus, but there is a bonus which you'll be able to add to your character's details. So you can see on this, it says, decide who you were created by and for what purpose. And when you generate experience at character creation, choose one that reflects this purpose and add +1 to it. So it's more about the background rather than, as we saw in 5e, where you'd get your pluses to dexterity, constitution, so on and so forth, just based on your race. So Clank's the first new one we're seeing on there. Secondly, we've got daemons. Now you can see immediately that what we're really looking at there is tieflings, but obviously I'm guessing there's an IP around that and that they can't use it because it belongs to D&D. But very similar in terms of kind of design and this idea that they are fallen gods who possess, or descendants of fallen gods, I should say, who possess sharp canines, pointed ears, and horns that come in a variety of styles. We then move on to Dracona, which is essentially your Dragonborn. So they resemble wingless dragons in humanoid form and possess a powerful elemental breath. Clearly, that's your Dragonborn there. And then moving down, we start to see some of the standard fare, the stuff you'd expect in any generic D&D fantasy setting. You've got your dwarves, your elves, you've got fairies in there. So again, winged humanoid creatures with insect-like features. You've also got things like fauns and firebolgs. So probably a little bit not what you'd get maybe in the player's handbook, but certainly we have seen these before in some supplements, and certainly if if you do watch Critical Role, you'll know that in the last couple of campaigns they have used those as characters, and that's probably why you've got the ability to kind of see them in this. And then when we get down here, we sort of move into the ones that are brand new, if you like. So you've got the Fun Grill, which are essentially big mushrooms in humanoid form, which is interesting. Definitely something which I'd say is new to me. Although, having said that, having played Baldur's Gate 3 recently, you do get to meet a colony of them, spoilers, in the Underdark. So I guess there is, some detail of that being around before, but interesting to see it as a playable race here. Galapa, again, what we're seeing here is these are big turtles, so very similar to the turtles that you'd see in 5e, but again, just differently branded. And then we move down, giants, goblins, halflings, humans, nothing that kind of gives you any kind of huge difference here. I mean, even when you're looking at the halfling, you can see that their kind of trait is a little lucky. and so they do get some additional assistance with what they call hope die, and we'll talk about that on another session. But essentially, very similar build from what we've seen previously. There are a couple of others on here which are a bit more interesting. So the Qatari, they are feline humanoids with soft fur and high triangular ears. So if you like playing cat people, you've got that option covered. And then you come down to, well, they're probably my two favourites. I mean, look at him. Look at that brilliant little guy there. So you've got ribbits who are essentially frogs. And I do like the fact that you've got you've got the long tongue feature. So you can use your long, powerful tongue to grab onto things close to you. I mean, that just gives you so many different ideas for roleplay. Helping people out, stopping people falling off of buildings by lashing your tongue out to save them, using your tongue as a rope. Loads of fun with that. And then finally we've got this Simar, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing right, which are monkeys, apes, long limbs and prehensile feet. And they come with the nimble feature. Take advantage on agility rolls that involve balance and climbing, and add +1 to evasion at character creation. So there we go. I mean, in terms of all differences, there are a couple of new ones in there, but a lot of it is your standard fare that you would expect to see. So what are we going to choose for our character creation? Well, I do want to do something a little bit different, and so it's either going to be a ribbit or a simmer. I quite like this little guy. Yeah, we're going to go with a ribbit, so we're going to be a frog. And you can see it's updating on the left-hand side there. And then the next thing we need to do is choose our community. So again, we've got some similarities here. What you're really choosing here is your background. So for example, let's pick out Highborn. Being part of Highborn community means you were born into a life of elegance, opulence and prestige within the upper echelons of society. So that means you get an inheritance, so you have advantage on all rolls you make when consorting with nobles, negotiating prices, or leveraging your reputation to get what you want. Take an extra handful of gold at character creation. Now, what's interesting about these, and we'll kind of go down and have a look at some of these as well. So if we look at the Orderborn. These are very, I won't say generic backgrounds, but they're quite broad. And what they're not doing is they're not saying, look, here's a specific skill, you will always get +1 to it or something on those lines. What they're saying is, in these situations, i.e., you know, in a role-playing situation, if it's appropriate, you can look to use some of these benefits. So if we have a look at this one, Orderborn, being part of an Orderborn community means you're raised in a place of great discipline or faith and hold a set of principles that reflect your experience there. So you could say that maybe is like the priest background, something along those lines. So it says here, record 3 sayings or values your upbringing instilled in you. Once per short rest, when you describe how you're embodying one of these principles for your current action, you may roll a d20 as your hope die instead of a d12. And that's quite powerful, but you can see that just opens up so many different opportunities for role-playing, and gives you much more control than the backgrounds we see in 5e currently, and I really like that as a concept. I'm definitely a role player rather than a crunchy kind of numbers guy. So any chance that I can kind of, you know, make the narrative fit my character and how they're going to be put together, I really, really like. So, prime example, let's have a look at the Wanderborn. And again, very similar to what we've seen in terms of things like Outlander. I believe that's the correct one. So, being part of a Wanderborn community means that you're raised as a nomad, not having a permanent home, but experiencing a wide variety of cultures. So, you get a nomad pack. Once per session, you may spend a hope to reach into the pack and pull out a common item that is useful in the situation. work with the GM to figure out what that item is. Again, that's a massive kind of thing. So, rope, caltrops, all those great things, just because you are this wanderer who's picked up stuff as you kind of go around, I think that's great. And again, just opens up so many different opportunities. So I really like this. I like the fact that it's not just I selected to miss you. That it's not just flat, straightforward, stats. I'm enjoying that. I think that's really good. Well, we need to choose a community for our frog, and this Seaborn one looks interesting. Being part of the scene calling community means you grew up on or near a large body of water. Once per session, when you take a short long action, you take one additional downtime action. So downtime actions we'll talk about when we go through the rules, but essentially it's what it says. It's what you can actually do when you rest up, and there are very specific things like regaining hit points, repairing armor, working on a project, those kind of things. And I kind of like that. I think, he's a frog. He's been out on the seas. Maybe I go completely different, and maybe we go with what's Underborn. Being part of the Underborn community means that you're from a suburban community. No, that's probably not him. Let's see. What is Wildborn? Yeah. Being part of the Wildborn community means you're raised by a clan deep within the forest. Your movement is naturally silent, gain advantage on action rolls you make to move without being heard. Oh, yeah. Okay, so we're going to be Wildborn. We're going to be a Wildborn Ribbit. Okay, so that's our heritage done. Let's have a look at classes then. And this is where it's obviously going to get interesting. So you will see, looking at the details we've got here, it's all very similar. Bards, druids, rangers, rogues, wizards, sorcerers, warriors. Yep. You're going to be able to easily create whatever your favourite character was in D&D. What you won't see on here is a couple of different ones. So there's no barbarian class. There's no specific cleric class. We'll come on to that in a little bit. There's no paladin class either. And I find it interesting that we've got wizard and sorcerer. I'd have maybe dropped sorcerer, but that's just a personal preference. You'll also see that we don't have any warlocks either. So quite a big change that they've missed some of those out. Whether or not something similar will be added, I'll be honest, I think this is the area where I expected them to become a bit more introducing their own stuff. So we've seen it in the past with things like the Blood Hunter class and a few others. I would have thought that maybe this would be where they'd diverge and produce their own classes. But I guess with doing that, you then might lose some of those core people who want to play a druid or want to play a ranger. But we'll see. Again, it's all just in beta. There could be new classes coming as we progress. What you will see, though, we have got two new ones in here. And let's have a look at those. So the first one is the Guardian. And the Guardian is effectively... it doesn't give you... What's interesting is that it doesn't give you a change class. It doesn't give you a big overview as to what the different classes do. So, I click on Guardian. I think at this point here, I'd like to know well, what does that actually mean? What is a guardian? But what you can do is you can. And what I'm going to just do, I'm just going to copy this. We're just going to go to a different page. And I'm going to click on game rules. And what we'll do, here we go. So what you can do is you can go back a little bit and find a bit more information. So let's have a look at Guardians. So Guardians represent an array of martial professions, and such a title speaks more to their moral compass and incredible fortitude than the means by which they fight. Those in this class may choose to join groups of militants from either a country or cause, but Guardians are more likely to follow those few they truly care for. Majority be damned. Guardians are known for fighting with remarkable ferocity, even against overwhelming odds, and are more likely to utilise defensive tactics than protect their cohorts and then charge forward for abandon. Woe be unto those who harm the ally of a Guardian, as they will not soon forget such a grievance. So that's your Guardians, and then the other one that we see on here, which is your new class, is, click on game rules, the Serapha. I hope I've pronounced that right. So, divine fighters and healers appointed by their god, Seraphas imbued with sacred purpose. A wide array of details exist within the realms, and thus there are numerous different types of Seraph. The ethos of each member of this class traditionally aligns with the domain of their god, including such missions as defending the weak, enacting vengeance, protecting a land or artifact, and upholding a faith. Some of the Seraph ally themselves with an army or a locale, much to the satisfaction of their rulers, but some of these crusaders fight in opposition to the follies of the mortal realm. It is better to be an ally to Seraph, as they are terrifying foes to those who defy their purpose. So, whilst the Guardian is probably, I guess, a new type of fighter, it looks like the Seraph is maybe a combination of paladin / cleric, something along those lines, and I think we'll probably look into that into more detail, but it's interesting that we don't have the distinction between the two. So let's pick a class for this. I'm thinking that we are going to, because it's possibly the most interesting one, even though, should I go for Guardian? Because that's... Guardian's a bit more interesting. Yeah, we're going to go for Guardian, I think. Okay, let's select class. So, this is our Frog Guardian. You'll see that on the right-hand side, you've then got all your different abilities. The first thing to note is the domains. So every class gets a domain. Sorry, gets 2 domains. And essentially, they are the areas where you can pick your skills from as you progress. So in this case, the domains I've got access to are Valor and Blade. I've got a starting evasion score. We'll go through that in detail when we look at the rules. Essentially, your evasion is your armor class. It's what's needed to hit. And then we come on to damage thresholds. Now, you may have seen this in some other games. What you've got here essentially is, depending on how much damage someone deals to you, will dictate how many hit points you lose, obviously. But it then falls into minor, major, and severe. So, for example, if someone does 4 points of damage, that's only a minor piece of damage. So I think I've got this right, you'd lose 1 hit point. Major, you'd lose 2. So if I did 12 damage, or if it was severe, maybe it's not damage, maybe it's the attack roll. One of the two. I apologise that I don't know that. But essentially, it dictates how much damage you'd actually take. Let's have a look at the class items and class features. So, first of all, class items: a stone totem from your mentor or a secret key. Oh, I'm going to go for a secret key. And the class feature we've got is Unstoppable. Once per long rest, you can become unstoppable. Sounds about right. Your unstoppable die begins as a D4. Place it on your character sheet in the designated section of your class features, starting with the die's highest value facing up. While unstoppable, you gain resistance to physical damage. Add an initial D6 to any damage rolls you make. Can spend stress to reroll any single dice you've rolled. Anytime you roll your damage dice, reduce the unstoppable die value by 1. When you reduce the value below 1 or the scene ends, remove it and drop out of unstoppable. Level 3, you get an upgrade. So essentially, that feels a little bit like raging. You get so many rounds. Yeah. When you reduce and I guess it just gives you some additional help and support. So what's interesting is it says anytime you roll the damage dice, you reduce the unstoppable die value by 1. So essentially, you could activate Unstoppable, the way I'm reading this, gain resistance to physical damage, and as long as you didn't make an attack, you could keep that going indefinitely, is the way I'm reading that. I could be wrong. We then go on to subclass options. Again, is kind of what you'd expect. Level... doesn't say what level you get your subclass at. That's okay. So my options are I can choose between following subclasses. I can play the Stalwart if I want to take heavy blows and keep moving, or Vengeance if I want to strike down enemies that hurt you or your allies. And then it just goes into the features. So if I'm going to be Stalwart, Foundation feature. When you take this Foundation, raise all of your damage thresholds by +2. Okay. When you take physical damage, you may spend a hope instead of marking an armor slot to reduce damage by your armor score. So armor is going to be one of the features on here, and essentially, if you're wearing armor, you can mark off a slot to reduce some of the damage that's been done to you. Once all the slots are out, you then need to repair your armor, but it just means it could be used to help get certain rolls below the threshold, so you won't take as much damage. Okay, so that's quite cool. Specialization feature. When you take the specialization, raise all of the damage thresholds by +1. When an ally within very close range takes damage, you can mark an armor slot to reduce damage by your armor score. Okay. Mastery feature. When you take this mastery, raise all of your damage thresholds by +2. When an ally within close distance has 2 or less hit points and takes damage, you can immediately mark a stress to sprint to their side and take the damage instead. Okay, well that's quite cool. But if I wanted to go for Vengeance, so Foundation feature, gain an additional armor slot immediately. When you're hit by an enemy in melee range and use at least 1 armor slot to reduce the damage, immediately do damage to them equal to your armor value. Okay, that's quite good. Specialization. When an enemy damages you, an ally of a melee range, the next successful attack you make against the enemy, that enemy has +1 proficiency. Yeah. And then Mastery feature, spend a hope to mark an enemy until your next rest. When you make an attack roll against an enemy you've marked in this way, you can adjust your hope or fear die by +1. Okay. So we get to kind of choose our subclass there, and then you've got level options. Good. Okay, it does say view full size. So levels 2 to 4. When you level up, record it on your character sheet, then choose 2 available options from the list below and mark them. Okay. Oh, I won't go into the full details of that, but you can see we gain some abilities based on when we level up. And what's interesting is that multi-classing seems to come in at levels 5 and 7 and then 8 and 10. So if you did want to multi-class and expand your ability section, you've got some details there for that. Okay. Well, we're only dealing with level 1 today, so let's go back. Multi-class Guardian. Okay, let's choose our subclass then. I'm thinking he's a frog. I think he's going to be defending his friends. So subclass wise, we're going for stalwart. Okay, let's have a look at the traits then. So these are your 6 core stats, as it says. And we'll just run through them quickly. They are going to be what you expect them to be in most cases. Agility, sprint, leap, maneuver, go up ropes quickly, sprint to cover, no surprise there. Strength, lift, smash, grapple, yeah. Finesse, now this is an interesting one. Control, hide, and tinker. So it says these are for like fine motor control, being precise, careful, and quiet. Whether or not that fits into hiding, I don't know. I can see it for like fine control and tinkering and being precise, but I don't know if that quite fits with hide. We'll see. Instinct. So perceive, sense, and navigate. Gives you a keen sense of your surroundings and natural intuition. Sensing danger. Yeah, that makes sense. Presence, charm, perform to seize. So that's your basic charisma side of things. And then you've got knowledge. So recall, analyze, and comprehend. Now that's the interesting one for me, because I do think that is the one that's potentially missed out in D&D, because we always kind of go, okay, would somebody know about this, like history or just general knowledge, and there isn't necessarily a role for that. So I quite like the fact that's been included, and it's interesting that it's one of the core stats as well. So the traits are obviously going to be used when you make your action rolls. No surprise there. So distribute the traits with the following modifiers. So you get a +2, a +1, a +1, 2 zeros, and a -1. Okay. So these are the suggested traits. I guess that makes sense. Yeah, interesting. I don't know if I'm going to change these slightly, I think. So, yes, oh, I'll tell you what is interesting. There's no, like, constitution, is there? I wonder how that's going to be measured. I guess we'll find out. So strength, yes, +2. But I think instinct should be +1, because I want to be on the lookout for danger and those kind of things. Knowledge, I'm not too worried about. Finesse, I'm not too worried about. Agility, yes, I agree. That should be +1. And then I think -1 on knowledge is fine. Has that done that? Has that done that? Yeah. Yep, looks like that's done that. I'd expect a button to confirm that, but that's fine. So strength, instinct, agility, knowledge. Cool. Okay. So we need a starting weapon. You can use physical weapons to attack foes, and if you have a spell tasking trait, you can also wield magical weapons. Okay. Interesting. So that suggests that you have to have some kind of spellcasting trait to wield magical weapons. And then we also get armor as well. So, as you said, you can use armor to reduce incoming damage attacks, and you can choose one piece of armor to equip. And then you get some other starting items. So, torches, yeah. Rope, yeah. Basic supplies. Bit of gold. A healing potion or a stamina potion, which is new. So, stamina is obviously new and coming into it. What spell she carried? So, you can be creative with how you use these items. Okay. So, these are all the different equipment that I can grab. Okay. There's quite a bit of stuff. That's quite cool. So, I'm thinking... let's see. A dueling staff. That could be quite cool. Glowing rings. They're magical weapons. Okay. Great staff. No, that's not really him. Halberd. A hallowed axe. That's a magical weapon. Ooh. Hand ruins. Mace. So... what do I think is going to be useful? I'm going to go for... well, it suggests battle axe, but that's two-handed, and I'm a defender, so I'm going to want to be carrying a shield, aren't I? So I think I'm going to go for the rapier. And then I'm going to go for the tower shield. Yeah. Nice. So you can see that there is some effects that has. So whilst a tower shield gives me +4 to my armor score, it is going to make it easier for me to be hit, which is, I guess, the trade-off. Mark stress to scatter enemies in melee into close range. Nice. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So let's have a look at the starting armor then. What have we got? Oh, nice and straightforward. Blimey. So I guess if I go for the chainmail, that would give me 11 armor. Yeah, I like that. Okay. So I'm an armored frog. We've got the basic supplies, and then we're going to go for a stamina potion, which is going to help me clear some stress. And then I'm going to choose the secret key, which I really like the sound of. And then lastly, we've got to decide on our domain cards. So these are the different domains that you have access to in order to be able to do stuff. So we'll have a look at the domain section just very quickly. So these are the domain section that are assigned to your class, and you can then use cards which are, as I understand it, a bit like abilities. So there's Arcana, which is all about magic, obviously. Blade, mastery of weapons, bows, that kind of thing. Bone, which is the interesting one, is mastery of swiftness and tactics, and canny control over their physical abilities and eye for predicting behaviours. I don't know why that's called Bone. It's an interesting one. You then got the Codex, which is your magical study, which I guess is different to your Arcana, which is more your raw kind of mystical power. You then got Grace, which is your charisma, Midnight, which is your shadows and secrecy, so for your thieves, Sage, natural world, for your druids, Splendor, domain of life through magic, so the ability to heal. That makes sense. And then Valor is your protection domain, whether through attack or defense. So let's go back to our character. So obviously what you get is you get... Yep. I thought I'd lost everything then for a moment. So there are some, says there, shared domains where you get some crossover. That's kind of to be expected. But essentially, what we then get is we get these abilities. So if I bring these down, and again, you can see that they've kind of gone for these cards just to make things a little bit easier. So what have we got to choose from? Bare bones. So my domains, does it say what my domains actually are? Blade and Valor, yeah. I'm level 1, so these are the kind of skills I can choose from. So bare bones, well, this card is in your loadout. If you choose not to wear armor, your armor score is equal to 3 plus double your strength. No, don't fancy that one. That's not great. Forceful push. When you make a successful melee attack, you can push the target out of melee range and spend hope to make them temporarily vulnerable. On success with hope, you add an additional 1d6 to your damage dice on the attack. Maybe. That's quite good. I am your shield. When an ally very close to you is going to take damage, you may mark a stress to stand in its way and take the damage instead. Reduce damage by a value equal to your strength trait. Okay, you must reduce damage by spending armor slots. So you can see, I'm assuming here we've got level 1, and I'm assuming this is a kind of cost. So it says there you can mark a stress. And again, we'll go into the rules about stress and those kind of things in more detail. But essentially, it's going to cost me something to activate that ability. Not good enough. Okay, what's this? So, when you roll your damage dice, you may re-roll any 1s or 2s. If you do, you must take the new result even on a 1 or a 2. Wow. Now, it doesn't say there that it costs a stress to do, but it certainly looks like it might. Okay. So, retaliation. When you take damage from a creature in melee range, you may mark a stress to immediately deal weapon damage to the creature at half proficiency. Okay. That's quite useful if you're playing as a protector. And then Whirlwind. Oh, here we go. When you make a successful attack using a weapon with melee or very close range. So essentially, when they talk about melee and close range, they're not kind of measuring things in meters. There's kind of a set standard melee, close range, far away, those kind of things. So, when you make a successful attack using a weapon with melee or very close range, you may also spend a hope to use that roll against every other enemy in that weapon's range. Any additional enemies you succeed against with this ability take half damage round up. Nice. Okay. So, what do I choose? I mean, I am your shield. That does sound good because, you know, I'm an armored frog with a big shield, and I can stand in the way and make sure other people don't get hurt. And I wonder how many I can pick. 2. Oh, excellent. Well, in that case, we're going to pick I Am Your Shield, and we're going to pick Whirlwind. Nice. Okay. I'm very happy with those. So you could see this is nice. I actually quite like this because some things can get very long-winded and lots of detail, whereas this very nice, very clear, very crisp as to what your ability can actually do. And that just leaves us with one more thing. So experiences. Experiences at the very core. It's about your character's backstory and expertise through the mechanics, and it encapsulates a specific set of skills your character might have because of the exciting life they lead. So you get 2 experiences character creation, one with a +2 modifier, one with +1, and you'll earn more. So this should all be linked to your backstory. And there isn't, excellent. So there isn't actually a set list of experiences to choose from. Each experience should be specific. For example, talent or focus is too broad. Yeah, okay. Oh, you'll have to excuse me a second very quickly whilst I sort out my dog. Apologies for that. She does not like the postman. Okay. I really like that. And then, so essentially, anytime you feel like an experience could help you succeed, you can spend a hope to add its modifier to the roll. Love that. Okay, changing experience. That's interesting. I like that. Yeah, so you're not then bound. So if you create a character and it isn't quite working, it looks like you're not quite bound to the experience, and that you can change it up depending on discussions with the GM. Okay, I like that. So, let's start with description then. Choose a description. Clothes that are, okay. Well, I mean, he's been a frog who's been on lots of travels, so his clothes are well worn, and what's the best word? Rustic. Eyes. Ooh. I can't really say eyes like frogs, can I? Eyes like... That's a weird one. I'm not quite sure what to say about that. His eyes were like steel. Yeah. Okay. A body that's squat but thick. The colour of... I mean, he's the colour of a frog. He's the colour of a lily pad. Can't spell. And an attitude like... What's his attitude like? His attitude's like... an old... an old sergeant. And I'm going to apologise because I cannot spell. I didn't realise I actually have to do any typing in this. An old drill sergeant. You know, he expects people to follow his orders. He always thinks he kind of knows best. He feels like he's responsible for other people in the party. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so answer some background questions. Who from your community did you fail to protect, and why do you still think of them? Oh, okay, that's a good question. I'm going to say his stepsister. So he kind of never really got on with her. And one time when they were in the forest, she was captured by traders. And she was crying for help, and he thought she was mucking around, and so he didn't take her seriously. He didn't, stepsister who he didn't take seriously. And was kidnapped. I guess he still thinks of her because he feels responsible and wants to get her back. You've recently been tasked with protecting something important with the goal of delivering it somewhere dangerous. What is it and where does it need to go? Okay. Well, he's got this weird key. So it's the strange key. And where does it need to go to? Oh, okay. Which needs to go to the Dwarven stronghold of Graceville. Greymorn. Yeah. So, you always felt uncomfortable in your skin. Well, I am a frog. What are you self-conscious of? It's definitely his height. And it's very difficult. He does smell a little bit. You know, people don't take him seriously because he's really small. Okay, quite happy with that. So let's generate some experience. So, let's... Okay. So, I would say that he's a protector. He likes to look out for people. So I would say that he's probably had some military experience. So I reckon military tactics. Yeah, so I think like he's had military tactics, so he understands how battles work. He has been in the thick of them. He knows how to kind of get the best out of people, and he's been a leader. He's kind of led charges. He's looked after people. So I think those are pretty good. Okay. Create connections. Oh. Okay. So this is the last bit. And I won't fill this bit out because I think this is kind of like when you have a discussion with other people in the party to kind of work out, you know, who does what and how they kind of interact with each other. So we'll save that for another day. But essentially, that's everything. Let's click on Save Changes. And then what we're going to do is we'll have a first look at our character sheet. It's generating. And there it is. Jackson, yes. Look at that. That's great. Okay. So we can see that. Oh, why has he only got an unarmed strike? I don't know if I necessarily like that. This is actually really nice. I like the look of this. I like how it's all been put together. I think that's probably my only one of the I guess downsides of using things like Roll20 and some of those. They're not very pretty, for want of a better word. But, I like this. So we can see just straight from here. So evasion 6, armor nothing. I think it's probably because I haven't put my equipment on it. Yeah. So you can see if I start equipping all my stuff. There we go. And if so straight away, once I've equipped my stuff, you can see my evasion go down to 3. God, he's going to get hit a lot. But he's got an armor of 11. So I'm quite happy with that. My rapier. Oh. And it's... Okay. Rolled a 6. Yeah, so it's got dice rolls built in, which is great. You can see that everything else is on there as well. So I can increase my marked. I've got my domain effects here. I've got my class features. I can do damage with my tongue. Nice. Okay, roll the damage. 6, good. Equipment, details, journal. Oh, that's nice. I like that. Yeah, that's really good. I like that. And you can see that in terms of my hit points, that's good. Damage rolls. There you go. When teams take damage, compare the number to your thresholds and mark hit points depending. Yeah. Cool. So damage below minor marks 1 stress. That's good. Everything seems to be kind of linked up, and you can then go into the, I guess, knowledge base, for want of a better word, to kind of look stuff up. Yeah, that's nice. I like that. Yeah. So there we go. That's how you can create a character in Daggerheart. What we'll probably do at some point is I'll probably do another video where we'll maybe look at doing some leveling up and just see how that impacts and what that looks like. But essentially, that is how you can create a character in Daggerheart. So, what do I think? I like the look of it. I like the ease of the creation. I think that's all been done really well. I think it probably needs a few more links to explain things. There's maybe a little bit of assumption that you know different bits about things like hope and stress and all that kind of stuff. So whereas I can kind of see here, if I click on hope, it will tell me here, and I really like that. And it tells you all about what hope can do. I would probably want to see that during the character creation, that you could, find out a bit more about that. Maybe some links in the descriptions bits down the side. But essentially, that's it. I'm ready to go. First impressions are that it looks like it's going to be very RP heavy, especially with this idea that, things like your experience, where you just kind of say what your experience is and you can kind of talk about that and add some benefits to that. I really like that. And I think it just opens up your character to create them the way you want. I quite like it. It'd be interesting to see now how this actually plays when it's in a game, and I'm looking forward to running a session where I'm going to give some people a chance to actually do that, and we'll probably have a talk afterwards about what it felt like. Did it work? But as a first point of call, it definitely looks interesting. It's not a million miles away in terms of what it looks like, i.e. character classes, all those kinds of things, to what you may have seen before in things like D&D, some other TTRPGs. But I think sometimes that's the best way to build stuff, is you take the stuff that really works in other ways and add your own twist on it. The interesting thing will be, how's it going to compare to the next iteration of D&D? We've obviously seen some of the stuff of that in the open beta. I wonder how easy it will be to create characters in that and what that'll look like. So once that's up and running, it'd be interesting to do a side-by-side comparison and just see which is better. But as it currently stands, this has got the hallmarks of being a contender against Wizards and the D&D brand. How much? I don't know yet, but you can't count out just how popular Critical Role is and how diehard the fans can be. I think this is going to be an interesting... I keep saying interesting, don't I? Sorry. I think this is going to be a really... I want to say interesting again. It's going to be... What interesting times. There you go. I said it now. But essentially, I do think that we're gonna see this rivalry possibly between the two, and I wonder how it's going to split the community. Well, there we go. That's all done. I'd love to hear your thoughts, your views, what you think about it. So please, either leave some details in the notes below, or comment, and you can check me out across the social media under the Gamer's Rest, and you can leave me some comments there. But that's it. That is our character creation process. I hope you've enjoyed it. Stay tuned, because in the next couple of weeks there will be videos where we do some actual play on this, and we can see it all in action. But for now, that is everything. I hope you enjoyed it. Don't forget to look after yourselves. Don't forget to like and subscribe, because that's always greatly appreciated. But do take care of yourselves, and we will see you all again real soon. Take care, everyone. Bye.